Right. Hey YouTube, Rob again, doing another video for you. Now, I think I did sort of say in my last video, which I uploaded about a week ago or so, that was going to be my end of the month sort of movie update. I actually decided to just make another video, just some stuff that I watched, sort of bought and watched recently. So I think it's like about 4 titles here. Sort of watch make a video about it and upload it and sort of just do it at the end of the month type thing. So we'll get into it. Okay, so the first one here was actually an animated film from 1977. I've actually recently got a sort of a Blu-ray release. The film's called Wizards. It's a Ralph Bakshi film. Actually, he did a lot of sort of weird sort of animated movies back in the sort of 70s and 80s. And I think Hannah, Ms. Poppy 90, actually did a sort of she's been doing a lot of Ralph Bakshi movies recently. So perhaps she did like a review of this one recently, a week or two ago. So perhaps just leave a link to her video below. Because I think she probably did a much better review and sort of overview than I probably could have done. The film itself, I have sort of watched it, I think probably twice before, and to be honest, I wasn't necessarily a huge sort of fan of it. But I did sort of want to pick up. I mean, I'm a fan of sort of old school animation, and this is a Blu-ray, and it's a digibook. So I mean, it's a really nice digibook, and I just wanted to sort of pick it up, just purely for collecting purposes and etc. Very nice artwork, very nice artwork in there. But I did sort of watch the film the other day for it's like the third time or something, and I did actually quite like it a lot more the third time that I did sort of watch it. I mean, the story itself, it's very much a sort of a Tolkien style, Lord of the Rings style sort of vibe to it, I suppose. You've got sort of like a mother, and she sort of gives birth to these sort of twin boys, and one's good and one's evil type thing, and they sort of eventually sort of have sort of big fight, and obviously the good wizard wins, and then the movie itself sort of set in the future, and the evil one sort of wants his revenge type thing. So he's sort of very much like in sort of the Lord of the Rings. He sort of builds like a big sort of army, and sort of starts to use like World War II, like Hitler's sort of speeches, sort of propaganda type stuff to sort of inspire his sort of army, type thing. That's probably not doing a very good explaining. Probably not doing a very good explaining of the storyline. But yeah, I might leave a link perhaps to Hannah's review. She did it a lot better. But definitely, the third time I watched it, I did actually quite like it a lot more, and it does sort of have a lot more sort of, it has a bit of sort of hidden sort of meanings to it. I think sort of a very sort of poking fun at war, and poking fun at religion, and sort of stuff like that, and very sort of I don't know, anti I don't know what we call it. It's it's very sort of weird sort of film, and very different to your normal sort of film, and which I guess is what Ralph Bakshi was trying to do, I suppose, just make a sort of a different sort of film to the mainstream. I mean, I have sort of I have sort of watched most of Ralph Bakshi's films before, and he can be sort of a bit hit and miss. I think there's certain films which I think are really good, and some films I don't necessarily think of that I don't know. Personally, I didn't perhaps necessarily think were all that good. But I mean, in terms of the actual animation itself, though, I mean, I really do like his style of animation. I mean, some people sort of say it's quite a bit of a mess and really horrible to look at. But I do like it though. I think it's very interesting sort of style to it, and sort of a mixture of sort of hand drawn stuff and sort of rotoscoping, and it is very messy. I can admit to that. It is a very sort of weird and sort of far out there. But I just think it's a really interesting. All these films are very interesting to watch though. But yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said before, that it took me a few sort of watches. So if you're sort of a fan of sort of animation or just sort of weird sort of movies, this is definitely one to check out. So that's Wizards. Then there's another film, another Ralph Bakshi film, which has just recently got a Blu-ray release as well. That's Heavy Traffic. Another one of these films that I didn't necessarily think was that great. I think I have only sort of watched it once though, so I'm looking forward to giving it a rewatch. And I'm a fan of animation, so I had to pick up both of these releases. I mean, it wasn't necessarily need to like the film, I suppose. I still wanted to sort of pick up these releases of it. That's another film I'm perhaps looking forward to watching. That's Heavy Traffic. The next film, actually, another sort of Katie Holmes movie. I've been sort of watching a few of her movies recently. It's also it's not directed by what's his name, Del Toro, how we say his name. But I think he was like a writer, and he did produce this film. I have been watching a few of his movies recently too. Pacific Rim and Pan's Labyrinth. This is definitely very sort of similar to Pan's Labyrinth. This is actually what's it called? Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I keep getting the title messed up on it. This is actually I think it's a remake. I think I'm pretty sure the first one came out in 1970 something or other. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it might have been Andrew Balliner. Pretty sure he did like a review of it once and said it was a really good film. And I saw this cheap, sort of like a second-hand store, as you can probably tell by the stuff down the front of it. And I gave it a watch, and yeah, I actually thought it was really good. I mean, it does get really awful reviews online. If you go on the IMDb website, it's like 1 out of 10 and 2 or 3 out of 10 star ratings on it. But I actually thought it was really good. I mean, this the story itself is not necessarily that original, I suppose, and people do on IMDb do have like a big list of all the plot holes in it, and and also in any sort of sort of horror movie. I mean, the characters does tend to sort of stay there, in harm's way. They don't necessarily just like I think John Flickster was saying in one of his videos, he sort of, if he heard some sort of strange eerie noise in his house, he wouldn't stick around. He'd be straight out the door, and wouldn't come back to his house, type thing, which is what you probably do, I don't know, in real life. But in movies, obviously they do sort of stay in the house, don't they, and don't necessarily run away. I mean, there was that sort of stuff where you sort of, you sort of think, well, why don't they just do this or do that, type thing. And certain scenes were obviously a bit, sort of convenient. But anyway, but I mean, but definitely for what it was, and I really did enjoy watching it. I mean, for me it was a very sort of well made, very sort of suspenseful and very sort of creepy sort of movie, and I did sort of really did enjoy watching it. Good sort of acting to it, and decent sort of story to it, and I mean, essentially the film's about sort of this little girl, and she's sort of been sent to live with her father, the father, which is Guy Pearce, and his sort of girlfriend Katie Holmes, and they're sort of doing up this really old house, and the little girl sort of starts to hear these sort of voices coming from the cellar type thing. So she's sort of investigating that, and wants to know who these voices are and stuff like that. And very much like, you know, sort of Pan's Labyrinth, I think, sort of, you know, style to it. But yeah, I thought it was just, yeah, a really good film. You know, it's well made, good acting, very suspenseful, and very sort of creepy. So yeah, that's a good movie, that one. Next film is actually a sort of a, well, recent Blu-ray re-release of a classic sort of science fiction action film from 1984, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's the original Terminator. I think this is like the remastered edition. So I did sort of, I've sort of watched this film for probably quite a few years, and I sort of did watch this one, and then I also watched the other three. So I watched all four in like a big sort of marathon the other day, and I think all the films are all really good. I think obviously the last two, you know, Terminator 3 and you know, Terminator Salvation. A lot of people, you know, do have a lot of issues with those, but I think they're, for what they are, they're, you know, pretty good, and they could have been a lot worse than they are, I think. This is, yeah, definitely a great sort of film. This one, perhaps a little bit sort of, perhaps a bit dated, perhaps in some of the effects, and but in terms of, you know, just sort of sci-fi and storyline to it, just absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I was sort of thinking when I was sort of watching this movie that I think I'm very lucky to, you know, to sort of growing up, you know, at the time I did, sort of thing. And so I think just when I was young, sort of growing up with this movie and a lot of other movies around the same time, there was absolutely some fantastic movies came out, and I just sort of think I sort of feel sorry for some of the younger generation that I don't know, I don't reckon they don't seem to sort of have sort of such you know, sort of awesome movies like this that sort of came out. I mean, you got the, you know, Terminator movies, and you got the Alien movies and the Predator movies, and some of the action sort of ones like, you know, Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, and you know, just, you know, all those, you know, Stallone movies, you know, Rambo and Rocky. Just a lot of great movies that sort of came out, you know, sort of, you know, especially around this time, especially when I was sort of growing up. And I don't think you can sort of get those movies, you know, these days. You know, like sometimes I feel sort of lucky to sort of, you know, have these when I was growing up. I mean, these days you probably got, I don't know, sort of Harry Potter maybe, and perhaps Lord of the Rings, but I can't think of many other sort of films that are just, that, for me, it really were just this great. I think, you know, some of the Spielberg films and James Cameron films, you know, and Ridley Scott films, you know, they're just absolutely fantastic movies, I think. And but I just don't think we get that sort of same caliber of movies sort of made today that we did sort of back then. But anyway, I'll find a bit of a rant there. Just yeah, a really good film, and I really did enjoy it. Okay, the last film, actually sort of a black and white sort of film classic, another Best Picture winner. I did sort of do a video, I think about a month ago. I did like Best Picture winner for 942 and 931, something like that. Today I've actually got 941 Best Picture, which is, I think, the same year that Citizen Kane came out. This film here actually sort of won Best Picture, which I suppose I always assumed that Citizen Kane sort of won the Best Picture for its year, but obviously not. The film itself is actually called How Green Was My Valley. A bit of a sort of a blind buy. I didn't know, all that much about the film. I sort of read that it was like a Best Picture winner, and I'm pretty sure it was fairly cheap too, so I just sort of grabbed it and gave it a watch. And actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was actually a really good movie, I thought. Very similar to, I did like Mrs. Miniver, which was 1941. This is 1942. So, you know, obviously the year later. But the story itself was very similar. Both movies had a very sort of similar sort of storyline to it. They're both sort of about sort of like one family and sort of the small country town that they sort of live in. This case, they're sort of set in like a Welsh, sort of very sort of poor Welsh mining town. It's sort of about this one family, the Morgans, and sort of, you know, sort of looking through the eyes of the son. I think he's like 10 or something. And yeah, the film was just about this sort of this town, and very sort of old fashioned, type town, and I think it's sort of set just before the start of the war. I think it's the Second World War. And it's sort of very sort of ups and downs. I guess of this family, you sort of got some of them getting married, and there's a few sort of deaths during the movie type things. So it's very much like a high and low film, and it's, a bit hard to explain the storyline to it. There's a lot of just very much like a day-to-day type thing, and certain things happening. Very sort of old-fashioned, and every morning the men and the sons would sort of start walking up the hill to the mine. And they're all got the same sort of lunchbox, and then the wives and the children would sort of be standing at the gate, sort of waving them off, and in their sort of the big sort of floral dresses, and and sort of the women would sort of be be in the kitchen all day, and the men would sort of be out working all day, and just sort of stuff like that. And very much you sort of got to if you want to marry someone, if a boy wants to marry a girl, he's got to go to the father of the girl, and ask the father's permission, type thing, and very sort of proper and old fashioned. But definitely, I just thought it was a really good movie, and some great sort of scenes in it, and great sort of dialogue, and it was all very sort of happy scenes, and there's a lot of sort of sad scenes, and so I'll definitely sort of see what won sort of best picture for that year. I don't know, just a great sort of film. So that's How Green Was My Valley. So that's my update. I was trying to make this video a bit shorter, but I don't think that actually worked. I don't think. But yeah, I think they're all sort of good films. What I sort of picked up there, and so that's it. I'll shut up now. So if you've sort of seen any of these films, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, whatever. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'm sure I'll be back very soon with another video for you. So for now,